Hey, what's up, everybody? Nikolai518 here. Welcome back to part 7 and the last part of going back to school for computer science in 2020. In this section, we're going to be talking about, is school worth it? We're even going to throw in a little bit of like self-taught versus coding boot camp versus going to school. And, hopefully this will help you pick which route is best for you. This is something I struggled with a lot before I went back. I was very torn between like, do I just drop 10K and go to the boot camp and then just see where it takes me, or do I go back to school and get the degree which they can never take away from me later on, and I'll always have that. And maybe I'll have a future job where I need a degree to get promoted. Like, that's totally possible. Not all jobs are that way, but some jobs may be like, look, in order to get to this level, you have to have a master's degree. You have to have a bachelor's degree. It's just mandatory. Not all jobs, but that was something I was thinking about. So, is school worth it? If you are mentally focused and ready to go, you're going for education, not for love, not for fun, not for the college experience, like education. Prime example is before I went back to school, I felt a little bit locked in to customer support and tech support. A lot of the jobs I had were just kind of customer facing, customer support sort of deals, and that was the only thing I was getting on LinkedIn. I would update my resume like, hey, I've gone on progate.com. I've done a couple coding courses, stuff like this, but I was still just continuously getting like customer support stuff. I was getting declined from like developer jobs or just not even contacted at all. And I just felt like I'm just locked in. I have to do something to kind of break this barrier open and get myself into the dev side of things. So, that's where I was at. And that mentality definitely helped me. You're going to have to be that focused. So if you're someone who's feeling a little bit locked into retail or customer support or tech support or whatever, you've got a good mindset. And I think if you actually go and try, things will go very well for you. If you need a little bit of pressure to achieve your goals, school is definitely worth it. You're going to have in the back of your mind like, hey, I paid $2,000 to be here. I filled out all the paperwork, did all the vaccinations, all this stuff. This is time, money, and effort here. So I don't want that to go to waste. I felt that pressure to do well. And if you need a little bit of pressure to kind of get things going, that's a plus side. And school is worth it. If you can go at your own pace. So for school, full-time is 4 or 5 classes. Each class is typically 3 or 4 credits. Full-time, maybe 12 credits. It may be 15 credits. It depends. In my opinion, 4 classes, way too much. Way too much. If you've ever heard the phrase drinking from a fire hose, that is essentially like taking 4 or 5 classes, right? Like in one day, on a Tuesday, right? You're going to go to school. Calc 1, Physics 1, introduction to computer science, programming stuff, and then on top of it, cybersecurity, just all day. It's just like so much information. And, with school, it's really a lose the battle, win the war situation. If you've got, 3 tests and 1 quiz all next Tuesday, forget the quiz, man. The quiz is only 10%. Like, you just fail it and then just do good on the test because the tests are worth like, 30%. So, if you can minimize that, right? Like if you can just take 2 classes, if you can take 2 classes and get an A in both, in my opinion, that is far better than taking 4 classes and getting a C in all of them. A lot of the information stacks on top of each other. So, if you get a C, you only learned like 50% of the material. Well, when you go on to the next class, you're already so far behind. And like over summer break and spring break and stuff like that, you have to keep learning. Because if you only know 50% and you go into the next class, you're just going to get blown away. There goes $2,000. Like you just wasted $2,000. Like there's just no possible way you're going to pass. Like you cannot go on to working with data structures and stuff like that, or recursion and stuff like that, if you just don't even know how to declare variables. Like there are some people who just passed by like the skin of their teeth, like just somehow got lucky, and just that was it. They just couldn't do it anymore. A lot of students are just like, programming is not for me. Like, I don't want to do it. It's too hard. So slow and steady wins the race. I'm telling you, it's far better to get an A in 2 classes versus a C in 4 classes. Don't let a guidance counselor pressure you into full time. Don't let a family member do it. Like, you're the captain of the ship. I think slow and steady wins the race. If you can get your degree, so your 4-year degree, in within $80,000 or less, I'm going to go ahead and give that a thumbs up. I'm, you know, let's say you graduate college with a computer science degree and you get a programming gig that pays you 70K, right? If you could save 40K of that, pay off half, and then do 40K another year, you're done. Like, you're pretty much done. Those 2 years are definitely going to stink, but it can be done. 80K is doable. You could even span that across 8 years. Just put 10K into it. Obviously, you're going to have to factor in the interest as well. So, it may be 9 years paying 10K, but I feel like it is doable. The whole schooling system right now is a total mess. Like, everything is so overpriced. Classes are like 1,000 times more expensive than they were. Even a slice of pizza on campus is like $8. Like, everything is just super expensive. If you can get it for 25K, awesome, 2 thumbs up. Like, go for it. If you can get it in 50K, like, do it. Do whatever you got to do to get that cost down. I would say commute versus living on campus. Like, just drive the 25 minutes every day, because if you live on campus, boom, there's like $20,000 a year. If you're eating on campus and you got a food plan, boom, there's another $10,000 a year. Like, you're gonna have to pay this off at some point. I'm telling you. Like I said, even if you die, your student loans do not go away. Like, this is super serious, and you got to make sure that the degree you're going for is going to be able to pay you enough to pay off the student loans. Like, if you're going for accounting and the average accountant only makes 45K a year, but it's going to cost you 120K to get that business degree, like, not worth it. You're going to be trying to pay off these student loans for the rest of your days, and your kids are going to be doing the same for you. It's just not going to work out. If you are at peace with teaching yourself most of the material, school is worth it. I'm not saying that, professors can definitely range anywhere from like absolutely terrible, rude, unorganized individuals to like brilliant, I love this person, they're awesome, true mentor, I love it. But, you could have 10 professors down here, right? Is 80K going to be worth that to kind of come in, and the guy teaching is like, oh, I do it for a second job. I got my own business, and, my daughter's getting married in November and stuff like that. And like, class is totally taking a backseat to him. He doesn't care. He's probably not even grading the stuff. You submit it and the teaching assistants grade it. So he could literally not care. And, those are some of the professors you could possibly get. And I just cannot justify anything more than 80K. Because it's rolling the dice. Yes, you can choose your professor sometimes depending on the class. Use ratemyprofessor.com to find out the most information you can about them. But, there are bad professors and there are amazing professors. And if you get a lot of bad professors, you spend 80K for that. Not worth it. If you're lucky enough to have somebody else pay for it, go for it, but take it seriously. Like, if your parents are like, we love you, we just want you to do good and, follow your dreams and stuff like that, give them a big hug, say you love them, and go and try hard. I would still recommend doing part-time. That way you can soak up as much information as you can. But that's a pretty sweet deal. School is not worth it if you plan on getting C's and D's in your classes. I was not a very good student before I went back to school the second time around, and a lot of the pressures helped me become a better student, right? Like, I'm paying for this now. This is coming out of pocket. I also have the drive to do better. I want to get out of customer support. I want to get out of tech support. So I was very focused going in, and my goal has always been go for an A. If you can't get an A, go for a B. Those are totally fine grades, But if you're planning on getting C's and D's in most of your classes, that's a terrible education for the amount of money you're going to be shelling out, right? Like, you spent $80,000 to learn 33% of the material. Like, horrible. You might as well have just stayed home and self-taught yourself. You are going to be learning pointless things in school. Prime example, if you're like, I want to do front-end development. I'm awesome in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and stuff like that, but I just need a degree. You're going to have to go back. You're probably going to be taking some math classes, and a lot of it is just temporary knowledge. I don't foresee myself ever using anything from Calculus 2. Like, I don't foresee myself coding and being like, wait, hang on a second. Let's find the area underneath the curve where x equals y. And like, it's just not happening, man. It's just not. So you're going to have to be at peace with being like, this is pointless. I'm going to have to do this calc homework and it's going to take me like 4 hours to do it. And, I'm never, ever going to use any of this knowledge outside of this classroom ever again. You're going to have to be cool with that. If that's something that's going to drive you crazy, I wouldn't even start, because that's just one class. There's going to be a ton of just pointless classes that you're going to have to take. Prime example right now. I really want to sit down and do more programming, but I'm extremely tied up with work and doing discrete probability and doing business marketing. And like, at the end of the day, you're just like, wow, it was a good day. I got a lot of homework done. I did a lot of studying, but dang it, I didn't do as much programming as I wanted to. That is a constant struggle that I'm going through. And, you're going to have to be cool with that. So if you're someone who's like, that's bull, like, I just want to program, I don't care about anything else, like, I just want to program, school's probably not it, man, because you're going to be doing a lot of extra bogus stuff. If you have a hard time working, being around people you don't like, if you're like, oh, I hate Susan, I quit, like, this is bull, you're going to have a professor you hate. It's going to happen. At so many classes, you're going to have professors you love and some you hate. And you're just going to have to go in and just smile and nod. Whatever they say, they're the boss, you're the student. You have very little power as a student on campus. They make the rules. The syllabus is subject to change. So halfway through the semester, if he's like, oh yeah, actually, I want to make the test worth 90% of your grade, and you failed the test, that's up to their, they can do that. They say, keep an eye on the syllabus, make sure you're reading the syllabus online every week. I can change it whenever I want, blah, blah, blah. So things can change like that. You may have a total jerk professor, and you got to be mature enough to just sit there, smile, nod, and just get through it. So if you got a little bit of an attitude problem, probably not for you, because they'll give it right back to you, and they're getting paid regardless of how well you do. So, literally your success depends on how good you want to do. If you're going to have over $100K worth of student loans, like, just buy a house. Like, just get yourself a house. Like, do the whole Swifty thing, get a house, fill it with cameras, just make it a stream house, and just make money that way and self-teach yourself. $100K is so much money. It's crazy. Like I said, the whole education system right now is way overpriced. This thing is like, it's disgusting, honestly. So if, you're going to be spending over $100K, the degree you get better be worth it. You better be a brain surgeon. Like, you better be on Shark Tank next week pitching ideas and stuff like that. $100K is a lot of money. And, as I mentioned, a lot of these professors could be very bad, and you find yourself just reading the book, teaching yourself. You're like, this guy is totally checked out. Doesn't care. Doesn't respond to emails. Like, I'm literally on my own. I go to his office hour and he just doesn't care. I'm on my own. I have to just read the book and just do the problems. Like, that's what it is. I'm stuck with it for 16 weeks. So, I can't justify $100,000 in loans to teach yourself, essentially. It's going to happen. Trust me. Take it from me. It's going to happen. You're going to be teaching yourself. Let's kind of get into some other topics. So, coding bootcamp. I've never been to one, but I have a pretty hard time believing that you can really grasp programming in 10 or 20 weeks or even a year. Like, I've kind of been at it on and off. My friend got me into it, I'd say, like 5 years ago. I started doing some coding classes online, Progate.com, Codecademy stuff. Been at it for like 5 years, So when I got into the classroom, it wasn't the first time I saw these things, but I definitely still had so much more to learn. And, I don't see how you can just learn all of these different topics in 10 to 20 weeks. A lot of it is you forget it if you don't use it. It's kind of like a foreign language. So sure, you can get through the 20 weeks, but then after that, if you don't have a job or something and you don't program for a year, I feel like you're going to totally forget everything. Maybe you guys have some feedback. If anybody ever went to a coding boot camp, let me know. Send me an email at nikolai518@gmail.com. Let me know how your experience was. And there's no degree with it on top of it too. So, when you go, you're literally just trying to soak up as much as you possibly can. Maybe they line up a job for you afterwards. That would be pretty nice. If they do, from there, get that first job, do your stuff there, and then try to jump to an even better job. Like, that's pretty solid. And you don't always need a degree to get a job. So I'm not counting coding boot camps out. It's just personally, I don't think I could learn the entirety of Java programming. All these things: declaring variables, if statements, control flow, data structures, recursion, methods, classes, inheritance, all of these different, like, I don't see how I could personally learn that in 10 weeks or 20 weeks. Like, that is a ton of information. And these classes may be like 10 hours a day. 10 hours a day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And like, if you're going home, playing WoW after, not getting a good night's sleep, like, that's just going to destroy you and your learning. I'm just not sure about it. At this point, I probably wouldn't gamble on it, just because there's a lot of other ways to self-teach yourself. So self-taught, again, school is literally just, you are self-teaching yourself. You just happen to pay to be there, and you're hoping that there's a degree at the end of it. Again, professors at school are going to say, word for word, read the book. I had one professor who I was like, I have so many questions. Like, where did this 6 come from? Like, where did this come from? Why did you do this? Literally looked at me and was like, buy the book, open the back, and do problems until you slam your face against the book. That's what I did. That's what I'm going to recommend you do. Any other questions? Just as cold-hearted as that. It was literally just go home, do the problems, and that's that. Like, that's it. So you might as well just do it on your own time. You can be a combination of two of these things, right? Like, I would say start self-teaching yourself now. Do it for a year. Like, go as hard as you possibly can. If you're single, no kids, no boyfriend, girlfriend, nothing like that, just go hard for a year. Take all your free time. Programming languages I'm going to, probably recommend you learn are Java, for sure, and C. If you want to go front end side of stuff, do HTML and CSS. That's cool too, but I'm going to strongly recommend starting with Java. Start with Java, and then from there, maybe branch out to C, and then maybe branch out into other things like, JavaScript or HTML, CSS. Self-taught, it's going to be the cheapest. It's on your own terms, but again, no pressure. So if it's Friday night, long day at work, and you just want to play some games with your friends, you can do that, but you're not making any progress. And you also don't have that pressure to be like this deadline is due on, tonight at 11:59. Like, if I don't submit this project, I'm in trouble. That's 25% of my grade. Overall, I'm going to say school is worth it, but you have to be able to go at your own pace. If you're someone who's very smart and taking 4 classes isn't such a big deal for you, go for it. But for me, I like slow and steady. If you can go slow and you can get a degree for under $80,000, great. That's awesome. If you have any questions or just want to pitch your idea to me, my email is nikolai518@gmail.com. I appreciate you guys sticking around. I really hope that this series was kind of eye-opening for a lot of you guys and girls. If you have any questions, like I said, my door is always open. I'm sure at some point I forgot to mention a certain thing, so maybe I'll make some follow-up videos afterwards. But I'm pretty excited to keep going, and the next project I think I'm going to be working on is doing some of the Java exercises on Progate.com. So if you want, check that out. That should be up soon. You don't need to subscribe to the website. The first 2 courses are free, so you could do those along with myself. And I'm excited to get back into some code and stuff. Again, I really hope that this helped you out. I know kind of getting back into college was a total tornado storm for me. I had so much different things going on, and I hadn't been back in school for 8 years. Hadn't even picked up a calculator for like 8 years. Hadn't even sharpened a pencil in 8 years. So I was super rusty going into it, but you can absolutely do it. You just got to stay focused. You just got to get through it. You got to make some good friends to mutually suffer with during the process. Again, best of luck to all you, no matter what you do. Door's always open, and I'll see you next time.